Topic today was e-commerce markets. That's something that concerns us as consumers in our everyday life. Here in Malaysia, you have a lot of shopping centres, but a lot of e-commerce is also moving towards online. So there are challenges involved with that. The growth rates of e-commerce around the globe are enormous. We have 20% growth rates in e-commerce, whilst brick and mortar commerce is basically stagnating. This brings a lot of challenges with it for businesses, manufacturers and retailers alike. New distribution strategies are put into place. Pure online retailers have come to the forefront, and manufacturers and retailers are struggling how to cope with these new distribution possibilities. Manufacturers fear that they're losing control about the quality of their product distribution and the brand image when many online retailers sell their products. So what we have seen, and the European Commission has conducted a large market study into e-commerce markets in order to find out what challenges and what problems or issues in terms of competition law enforcement arise from e-commerce markets. And what we found out is that as a reaction to the growth of e-commerce, especially in the European Union, but this also applies globally, we find that a lot of manufacturers have actually resorted to vertical integration, meaning that they have opened their own web shops and are now in competition with their retailers. They have resorted to more restrictive distribution practices such as selective distribution. And thirdly, we see an increase of recourse to so-called vertical restraints, whereby the manufacturing level undertakes to control tighter the distribution networks. One big feature of e-commerce is obviously that it leads to increased price transparency. This is very good for consumers. We can all now look for the best deal and find the best choice online. The prices can be easily compared through price comparison websites, for instance. But there's also another side of the coin, namely that the increased price transparency helps companies to monitor whether their retailers stick, for instance, to a recommended retail price, which could lead to resale price maintenance, or the prices of competitors. And this, very interestingly, in online markets is normally not done on the spot, but is done by use of sophisticated pricing algorithms. So pricing algorithms automatically watch competitors' prices and align them automatically. This will in the future be, I think, a new frontier of antitrust enforcement, how to deal with algorithmic pricing. There can be very straightforward use of algorithms where basically algorithms are just used as a tool to collude in an old-fashioned way. For instance, if two competitors come together, fix a price and then implement this by way of an algorithm, that's what we would call an old-fashioned cartel. But if you go to a next step, what is going to happen if algorithms basically take over the pricing decisions, if artificial intelligence takes over pricing decisions from competitors, and basically the prices are fixed by means of algorithms? Is this still something that the competition law as it currently stands can deal with or not? These are reflections, I think, that every competition authority around the globe will have to make as business is moving towards an algorithmic business environment where algorithms are used more and more, especially in e-commerce markets. We will see that in the future very much. Another very prominent feature of e-commerce markets is what I would term the platformization. So you see in e-commerce markets a lot of very powerful platforms emerging, for instance in the area of internet search, in the area of online marketplaces, most of which are also working and doing business in Malaysia. You can see that these companies emerge because a lot of the competition in these markets is also driven by network effects. There are barriers to entry. The companies these platforms gain their market share, first of all, because they're making use of the network effects. For instance, take a marketplace such as Amazon, it benefits very much from the network effects. If more sellers sell on Amazon, then this platform becomes more attractive for consumers. If a platform is more attractive for consumers, more sellers are going to sell on this platform. This is reinforcing, and you see that also in other markets like the search market. The more people search on one specific search engine, the more data the search engine has, and the more data it has, the better it can improve its algorithms, which then in turn leads to better search results, which then in turn drives consumers to the search engine. This is an indirect network effect that you find in these platform markets. So the platform markets are prone to winner takes it all markets where one has to be careful that dominant positions don't get entrenched, though obviously under the competition laws across the globe, it's normally not dominance that is punished. What is punished is the abuse of dominance, and that is something one would have to keep in mind in these platform markets. One example that the European Commission is currently looking into is the leveraging of Google from one of its markets where it has market power into another market, which is the search market, where we deem Google to have market power, into the market of online shopping, which is a separate market, and this is something that the Commission is currently investigating. Generally, we have to see how the platform markets develop. Not every platform is obviously the same. It depends on the market conditions in the specific platform markets, whether market power actually arises in the specific platform market. That very much depends on whether there is multi-homing, whether different platforms actually compete and users can switch from one platform to another, or whether there's only one platform available in a specific market segment. All of this said, one has to be careful when applying competition law in digital markets, as these markets move fast, but on the other hand they're prone to creating dominant positions, especially because of the network effects that are at work. So a competition authority has to be careful in balancing its intervention so as to keep markets open, but also to protect innovation, especially also from platforms, because they are the driver very often of competition and innovation in e-commerce markets. Generally, the toolbox that competition regulators have available should be sufficient to address these new issues in online markets, such as the algorithms that I've mentioned, or the platformization of the markets, but general message is one has to treat very carefully so as not to offset the balance between enabling competition but also enabling innovation in these markets, which are going to be very important in the future.